I was listening to the Tolkien professors exploring Lord of the Rings, and they got to Jonathan's favorite section of the Fellowship of the Ring, which is
walking on snow.
The Legolas walking on snow, and the confusion by the Tolkien professor was. I was laughing so hard in the car while I was listening to it, driving my daughter to her swim practice.
Confusion in what sense?
So he's like, I do not know how Tolkien wants us to understand this. Like, this is not possible. This is something that is, but what was great was my kids just had a class on Tolkien's On Fairy Stories, my high schoolers, and so we had read On Fairy Stories aloud, and I felt like it was one of those moments where I had just read something from Tolkien that answered the question. Because I think I know how we're supposed to understand Legolas running on snow. I don't think you can't explain it with physics. It doesn't work that way. But the elves' relationship to the world is in defiance of physics at certain points, and Tolkien calls this Faerie with a capital F. And so this is the relationship of the beings that are of Faerie to the world is not the same relationship that we have to the world. Or in other words, physics is not the same for them as it is for us in certain instances and with regard to certain things.
So he truly is Legolas, the Lord of Physics.
And we call this magic, but and it is, in fact, and Tolkien has no problem on Fairy Stories calling it magic. He says there is magic. It is a magic, and it is that which is other from us. So we do not understand it, and it's different. The nature of the fairy, of the elves and fairies, is different than ours, and so their relationship to the world is. I mean, look, we see that a lot, right? Legolas, and I'm not talking about the silly Legolas, Lord of Physics, running up a falling stone. That's stupid. Yeah. But Legolas, listening to the stones talk from Eärendil about things they saw thousands of years ago, listening to the earth talk in Rohan when they're in the hunt after the Uruk-hai. There's a lot of things that Legolas
Fords
does.
Of Eisen, right? Brunet. Wait, no, I can't remember. Fords of Eisen, yeah. Or Glorfindel, right?
Well, Glorfindel's a special case. You can't
Elrond does it actually, but yes, but it's magical.
But and Glorfindel is a special case because he literally, due to his resurrection and power, he exists basically like a wraith in the other, but like a good wraith, like a glorious wraith in the spiritual world as well. So you can make the case, well, Glorfindel's different, and which is true. But Legolas exists in his relationship to the world around him is different than other things. And someone was saying, well, are you saying that he could walk on water then? But he could walk on snow, but he can't walk on water because presumably a bunch of elves drowned. So we know elves can't walk on water. And the answer is, yeah, that's right. And can you give me a reason from physics why that makes sense? No, I can't, because that's not the way it works with Faerie. And so there's supposed to be a true wonder and sense of magic about the relationship to the natural world. So anyway, I was thinking about you the whole time, man. I was like, this is Jonathan. Jonathan needs to be here. It's just
that harsh, abrupt switch from a fantasy tale into a fairy tale. You know what I mean?
And back. Yep. He flips in and out. That's
he does it in the Silmarillion, except he does it more chapter by chapter.
True. But with Legolas, I just feel Legolas is just like the example of Faerie inside of the Fellowship. He's got a different relationship.